It's a cold, cold Canadian winter night, and you're walking down the sidewalk. As you approach the corner, you see a pile of rubbish lying there. As you get closer, you realize that it's not rubbish. It's a human being sleeping on the corner in the middle of winter, alone and homeless.
As you approach the corner, you wonder what their name might be, or do you wonder how they got there?
Or perhaps you might even wonder that you might be homeless on that corner one day.
Do you think of all these things, or do you close your eyes and your mind and keep on walking by?
The main reasons a young person could find themselves homeless include abuse, physical or sexual, parent-teen conflict, mental health issues, some of them quite serious, evolving during adolescence.
It was pretty rough and stuff like that, panhandling. That really takes a lot out on you. And by panhandling, I thought when I was kind of on the streets and stuff, just hanging out with my good friend here. And I just thought later on in life I was going to be homeless, and that just really took a lot out of me when I was younger, like a young kid, just thinking that everyone was against you in the world and that no one really cared that if you were going to be homeless. So it was pretty rough and stuff.
Well, I was homeless at 14. I had problems at home. I got kicked out of my mom's house, and my parents are divorced, so she sent me to my dad's. And then I got into a lot of trouble. We lived in a little small town north of Toronto, and I basically hitchhiked to Toronto after my dad kicked me out. I was getting into drugs and drinking and stuff like that, and I was squatting all the time. I wouldn't go home. There's a lot of family problems and stuff like that, domestic violence and things like that with my dad. So I just decided to just leave and get out of it. I was already not staying at home in the town. I was squatting in an abandoned house, and then I just came to Toronto, and I was just, I left everything behind, and I just wanted to get away from everything, and I had no one to run to, so I ended up here. Oh boy, where do I start? Oh my gosh. It depends. I mean, just because of, our status being on the street, when the Safe Streets Act came out, it was a lot harder for us to make money. There was a lot of really shoddy laws where it was you weren't allowed to panhandle within 10 feet of a ATM or a bank machine, so that pretty much ruled out every spot. And then you weren't allowed to panhandle between, with a certain amount of people, or you could get arrested for, harassment or something
Aggressive
like that.
Panhandling.
Aggressive panhandling. And you couldn't squeegee anymore, so everybody was just being thrown in jail. Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious thing where there's a huge sex trade out in Toronto, and there's times at night where I wouldn't dress like a prostitute, but I mean, people would still think that because I'm homeless and down and out that I'd do anything for a couple dollars. And it's, I grew up with a lot of sexual abuse and stuff like that in my family, so that was never an option for me, whereas some of the girls that I met, that was the only option.
Just for me, I had a lot of supportive women in my life at my old high school, so they were really great. They were able to support me and just let me know that I was a good guy and stuff, and that what I went through my life, that I could rise above from it. And I just literally took the last bit of my own will and I went with it. I took a really big chance and got some counseling for 2 years and was able to try to get some help and stuff like that.
I can remember a time last winter, it was a really cold night, and I was working downtown in our entertainment district, and we walk outside, and we were very bundled up, and it was a really cold night. And I remember seeing a gentleman sitting on the ground there panhandling. He was in his 20s, and he looked like you or me.
He looked good, even all the panic shots.
Lost my job. Pay for here usually. I've checked out some of the shelters and safe from cleaner on the streets. Well, it depends on the shelter too. I haven't checked them all out, but a lot of them, there's a lot of very desperate people, and the amount of desperation in the place just makes it dangerous, like a powder keg.
My dad was abusive, so I ran away from home, and then when my parents split up, I tried going back, but then I wasn't in school, so I got kicked out. So it's just I'm trying to get back to get a place. I'm working with Streets to Home, so hopefully. Sometimes I'll just find like one of those heat grates outside that are blowing out like nice warm air, or sometimes I'll, depending if it's like really cold and storming, I'll go to some of the out of the colds that are going around. Well, sometimes you get like the weird creepy people that'll come up and be like, oh, well, you guys, like, they'll see like, oh, you're panning, you need money and whatever. They'll be like, oh, well, if you do this, like, we'll help you out with all the money, and like, and it's just like they'll try and get you to do favors for them, and it's just like, well, no, I'm not like that, and like, would you just like go and leave me alone? And then they're like trying to take you home, trying to do this, and it's just like, no, I'm not. Just like, go, just leave, bye-bye, you know? Stay in school and don't be stupid. Street life is not fun.
Don't do it.